It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'm your host this morning. Appreciate you joining with us. Thank you for spending your morning with America's Voice Now. You know, I've been away for a couple of days. I appreciate those of you who sent me email and contacted me. Thank you. You know, we're going to talk this morning on 4 different topics of critical importance. The first is we're going to deal with the issues surrounding Syria and the new programmed war being fostered upon us by our government. Our second issue is going to be the clergy response teams and how our churches in the United States of America are being geared up to be used as a weapon against the society of the United States of America. As things start coming apart, and if you don't smell that, see that, taste that, hear that, and feel that in the wind, you must either be living in a box under a rock, or you're completely dead to your own inner mind and your warning voice. So we're going to talk about the clergy response team and how they're being geared and set up to be a supporter and a promoter of the government agenda as things begin to come apart. Our third topic is going to talk about the new revelation of the AT&T data matrix, how they are sharing your calls since 1986, folks, and how the program that they have dwarfs the NSA's phone monitoring project. This new project called by AT&T is called Hemisphere, and it is about that all-encompassing. So the name is accurately describing the project. Our fourth topic is going to be unions and Obamacare, and how the unions have now turned on the traitor-in-chief, primarily because they feel that Obamacare is not being worked to their advantage, and how he has recently just come out and announced that he's going to offer them some special favorite programming to enable them to come back onto his side of the fence. I got to tell you, folks, you know, the amount of betrayal that's going on everywhere in the country now, we are so close to the end of society as you and I know it, as we grew up understanding it, as we felt was the way of things. We are now at a position, I believe, where, for all intents and purposes, we have crossed over the line where political resolution is possible, and there's only 2 things that are, or potentially 3, that can resolve this. One is a complete and total and utter collapse of everything that we know. The dollar, society, the issue of family, community, and with that will come the collapse of the grid and everything else. The second issue is Americans still have an opportunity to rise up as a vast and massive peaceful demonstration, a civil disobedience, peaceful but civil and massive nonetheless, and just say, we refuse to play, and that's it. Everything stops. All commerce, everything. It may bring it down. It may accomplish that which I just referenced as the first possible scenario. But I have to tell you, that would be preferable to allowing it to occur completely unprepared and everyone in America completely unprepared for the coming of what, frankly, they're going to launch. So, I mean, this is either going to be a controlled demolition or an accidental demolition, but the demolition is going to occur, folks. The question is how. The third possible alternative is that we do nothing, and it all comes down around us anyway, and government at the end of that is in control of everything, and you are essentially a chained slave. Those are your three options, folks. That's where we are. So let's take a look at Syria, the new programmed war. U.S. general who retired in 2003 comes out and says that the plan that Obama has is far greater in depth and scope than, and it's much more substantial than thought. That's his quote. The resolution that he's going to go to Congress with is asking basically for an open-ended blank check where he can pretty much do whatever he feels is appropriate, and there's no end in sight. This is a war that does not have a need or a place in the American political landscape. We don't belong there. It's not our issue. I grant you the fact that there were chemical weapons used. We didn't use them. We don't frankly know at this point who actually did. We do know that as recently as a couple of months ago, the Syrian rebels were caught in Turkey with a 2.5 kilogram can of sarin gas. So the question really then says, or then asks, who actually was responsible? I mean, nobody's denying that it happened. The question is, who lobbed the bomb? And no one does know that answer. What I can tell you is this. All of this is nothing other than a thinly veiled excuse for the United States to enter into a new state of war that will accomplish a couple of tasks for this government. One, it will focus the American population and the people and the news media away from the internal struggles and scandals that are plaguing this administration. And they'll do almost anything, including use up America's treasure, its youth, its gold, its heart, and its soul to accomplish that. The second issue is that it will allow the economy to be artificially boosted one more time so that the real powers that be can actually load their coffers even higher, tax you more, and drain and suck even more wealth and resources out of what little bit is remaining in the United States. The third issue is it gives this imperialistic government an opportunity to expand its power and its force and might one more time across international borders. Folks, this is a mess. And I'm here to tell you that you need to know that it is your obligation to begin to call your representatives and tell them absolutely not. We do not want to go to war. We want them to vote this down. We do not want anything to do with another war in another country against a group we don't really know is actually responsible for the use of sarin gas. What we do know is this. 100 to 150,000 people have been killed over there for the last couple of years. There's been some 12 incidents where weapons of mass destruction, i.e. nerve agents and gas, have been used. So why does this time make it different? Because Obama needs to save face in front of the international community? Hey, guess what? I'm not sending my son over to die in a war so that Obama can save face, and you shouldn't either. And if you don't have a son or a daughter who's of age to go, all that tells you is that you should be fighting for mine and everybody else's kids. No more. No more war. Call your state and federal reps and tell them to vote no on the war in Syria. We must stay out of that country. We will not support, we will not fund, and we will not defend Al-Qaeda. We will not assist in subjugating the planet to tyranny, imperialistically or otherwise. We cannot afford another war. Our youth and our national wealth and treasure are not to be squandered so that Obama can save face. He's already done all the damage to our nation that can be done, internationally and domestically. We cannot afford another instance of allowing this to move forward. He's going to ask Congress, but he claims the power to launch the war anyway. So, he's giving himself multiple outs. One, he's giving himself the opportunity to say, Congress said I can't do it, and I'm going anyway. At which point, he then really should be impeached. The other option is he's giving himself the out to say, Congress says no, so therefore I have to say no. I wanted to defend those Syrian people, but those Republicans refused to protect and help and defend them. So therefore, they're the ones at fault, and the United States of America in the 2014 elections used that weapon against the Republicans. And traitors like McCain and Lindsey Graham are sitting there at the feet of this tyrant, licking his boots in an effort to help him accomplish that task. It's absolutely shameful. Any representative, left or right, Republican or Democrat or otherwise, who votes to support this war should be removed from office. Be recalled if your state allows it. Despite claiming that he has the authority to wage the war on Syria himself without congressional approval, he's going to go seek it. This guy has painted himself into a corner and left all of us holding the bag. And I don't know about you, but I've had enough. So, what I would encourage you to do today is pick up the telephone and call 202-224-3121. Tell your representative that you want to speak to, or tell the switchboard you want to speak to your representative's office. That's 202-224-3121. And then call back and call each of your state, your federal senators and say the same thing to each one. The vote on Syria is no. We do not want to go to war. You are to prohibit this tyrant from activating a war in Syria. And you will hold them accountable. You know, in the last 5 years, Assad has been called a friend. He has been supported by Kerry, who's now demonizing the guy. In fact, Kerry's known to have had drinks and dinner with the guy repeatedly. In fact, as far back as 2010, Assad came out and said, I trust Senator Kerry. I've met him 5 times. Now Obama, Biden, Defense Secretary Hagel, Clinton, these are the guys who backed him during the Bush administration. Now they're turning around and saying, we got to go knock him out. The truth of the matter is, folks, you're being played by a propaganda-laden media who's sitting there. I don't know if you watched it on our Facebook page, but there's a video out there about Syria Danny on Communist News Network, who actually cues up the gunfire and the explosions before he gets on an interview with CNN. And then he gives these hurried, breathless reports like he's just come out of the war zone. He's been sitting there in a chair for an hour and a half waiting for CNN to bring him on. It's all a game, and you're being played. Our entrance into Syria will do nothing except further the cause of jihadism, extremism, Al-Qaeda, Islam, and it will do nothing but destroy the United States of America further. And nothing should be further from our goals. Nothing. The truth is, we are at a position now where no matter what we do, it's going to be the wrong thing based on worldview. If we go in and support them, then and go in and go after Assad, then we're going to be accused of taking the side of Al-Qaeda by virtually everyone. If we refuse to go in, then we're sending a clear signal to Iran, Russia, China, and everyone else involved that our nation and our president have a spine of spaghetti. And you can blame directly Barack Hussein, insane Obama for what's going on here, because he and the war hawks like McCain and Lindsey Graham and all of that scum out there that are trying to force us into another unnecessary war, those people are, for all intents and purposes, trying to extricate themselves from the corner that they've painted themselves into, and they're going to use our youth and our blood and our treasure to accomplish that. The world knows the United States is in complete and utter disarray. The world knows that our nation, for all intents and purposes, is not the United States that they've known of in the past. They know that we are now operating as a police state, terrorizing and tyrannizing our own nation and our own citizenry. And there is absolutely no doubt about it. We know that these senators, like Graham and like McCain, are over there licking the boots of a tyrant in his office the other day, explaining to him what he needs to do to garner their approval to support this thing so that he can get an appropriate vote in Congress. Your job is to call up your representative, your senator, and say, absolutely hell no. Let me say that again for the record. Hell no. We're not going to war against Syria. You're not going to drag us into another international quagmire. We're not going to support Al-Qaeda, your secret friends. We're not going to support the unwarranted invasion of another foreign nation. If they have a civil war going on over there, let them settle it there. It's not our problem. It's not a function of the United States to be involved in it. And any interaction or any support that this Congress gives to this president in this effort should be declared to be the treason that it is. Make no mistake about it. Graham and McCain are traitors to their states and to the United States of America, to the Constitution, to you, to me, and this government. So is Barack Hussein Obama. They are seeking the destruction of the United States from inside. And they're willing to weaken our border and weaken our defenses internationally in an attempt to accomplish just that. Folks, this is flat-out police state tactic treason. Don't you smell it? It's everywhere around you. Prices are going through the roof. We are sitting here in a scenario where our leadership has turned against us. Our law enforcement and our military are, for all intents and purposes, being used to subjugate the American people. Everything you do is surveilled and monitored. Dossiers are developed and built on you. For what end? You're being forced to sign up on Obamacare and give over your personal information and your health information. You're being forced to pay money into a system that you already know is busted before it even starts. It's bankrupt before the day it opens its doors. You see everywhere that's going on. Our Fed is buying our own debt because foreign governments won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. We're buying $1 billion worth of deficits a year in the Federal Reserve from the United States right now. What does that tell you? That tells you foreign governments don't want it. They won't buy it because they know that we're dead in the water and bankrupt. Our ship is full of holes. Our motor and our engine are irretrievably destroyed, and that we are a ship of death. There is only one way to restore this America. Only one way. And it needs you. It needs your participation, your assistance, your active, willful disobedience. It requires that you participate with millions upon millions upon millions of other Americans to say, we collectively, the people, say no more. When will you step up? When will you face the truth? When will you do your job, your part? Take your responsibility seriously. Take your role as a warrior for liberty and freedom seriously. You can continue to pretend this isn't happening, or you can recognize that it is and take the appropriate necessary steps to try to restore this nation to some semblance of lawfulness and to reassemble the pieces back together by taking over this government with a lawful, massive civil disobedience and a pre-prepared organization of individuals who are ready to step in and restore this government to a constitutional foundation. Everyone there must go. Everyone. Aides, janitors, garbage men, all the way up to the top, to the president, the Senate, the House, all of it goes. New blood infused, a complete and utter transfusion. And only then will we at least have an opportunity to restore this nation to a constitutional republic. Alternative to that, the end is clear. We don't know the detail, we don't know the date, we don't know how far down it will fall. But at some point, the banks will go bust, the Fed will go bust, the globe will go bust. Once the economic slide starts, the rest of it's trashed. You watch and see. If you're not prepared, that's on you. You refuse to take action now. For the rest of us, you refuse to take action and responsibility for your own family. And when it comes and the blood is running in the streets and the riots and the war is going on right here at home, and the army is vacating their posts and refusing to quell the riots and the disturbances, then what are you going to do? We are there, people. Don't you smell it in the air? You're listening to America's Voice Now. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to touch on part 2. Part 2 is how the clergy is being set up to help destroy us from the inside, using their influence on literally 100 to 200 million Americans. Their goal, and the DHS is creating it, is to create a DHS clergy response team. They even have a name for it. Find us on the web at facebook.com/America's Voice Now, americasvoicenow.org. And you can find this and every other program at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. Share this with your friends. Time is short. We'll be right back. Stick with us. This is going to be an interesting program.